All right. Good evening, everybody. At this time, we will recall to order the regular meeting of the Suffern Central Board of Education for Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. Let the record reflect all board members are present. Please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Student report.
Hi, everyone. I missed you guys last week, but this week I'm going to be talking about just what's going on at the school, at the high school. Thursday through Saturday in the high school auditorium is the fall play. The ticket information is on the high school website. I know a lot of people are involved in it, and it's the Brothers Grimm Spectacular. Should be really good. I'm really excited for that. November 16th and 21st are office hours, which are parent-teacher conferences at the high school from 6 to 8 p.m. Parents and guardians sign up for appointments for that. It's a little different than how it is in elementary and middle school. Winter sports start Monday the 13th, and quarter two begins that Monday as well. Monday, November 13th at 7 p.m. is also financial aid night, which is for families and students of all ages learning out how to fill out financial aid forms, and it's basically for everyone. And then lastly, the speech and debate team is holding a regional competition on November 20th in the auditorium. Thank you.
Thank you. 1.08 minutes of the regular meeting of October 24th, 2023. Do I have a motion? Ms. Dickman, second. Mr. Donnelly. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 All those against? Any abstentions? Mr. Shapiro abstains. Thank you. 1.09 superintendent comments.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. I'd like to start off the superintendent comments with Mr. Pat Breen, our Director of School Safety and Special Projects, who's going to be updating the Board of Education and the public on some of the enhanced protocols, processes, as well as our school safety audit.
Yes.
Mr. Breen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gunderson, members of the Board of Education. Just want to begin by saying the topic of school safety has been one of incredible importance to me over my career as 20 years as an administrator in the district. It's an area of which I feel we can do great work. And as I step into this role, I just want to begin kind of taking you down the path I've chosen to direct some of the work for this year. So looking at diving in, I started to look first at the research. What does it say? What are the best practices? Are we doing that? And where can we improve? So as the English teacher in me, I'm looking for recurring themes. I'm looking for areas that stick out. And what you can see is that you find terms like collaborative processes, revision, professional development, training, a lot of what I'm used to, but also very critical components to developing safety plans and safety readiness among your staff, your students, and even your community. So the other piece to that was the addition of district leadership. So obviously having someone the principals, the building level administrators can work with is essential in this plan. So establishing some objectives for this year. One of my major goals is to implement a system of continuous improvement, professional development in the area of school safety. So years ago, you might have seen us do a comprehensive school improvement plan. We're applying the same formula to safety. What are we doing? Is it working? Where do we need revisions? And carrying that model through the year and repeating at the end. So looking at a way to continuously improve our practices and look at best practices, or what they say, better practices, because nothing's really best. Also to adopt best practices in the use of technology and infrastructure and pieces of the buildings, our entryways, all those things that matter in terms of hardening a target or hardening the facility itself. Also continuing to cultivate our relationships with the local police departments, Ramapo PD and Suffern PD in particular. They've been tremendous assets to us forever, as long as I've been an administrator here, but they're tremendous in terms of providing guidance and working with us in partnership. So some action steps we've taken already. We established a safety audit at the end of last year, actually, and began reviewing all of our district safety plans, looking for congruence, alignment, making sure that everything was correct in terms of the state mandates and requirements. We worked with a security consultant, Alteris, for this year. We're working with them to continue that work. And some of that work involved multiple visits to all schools, looking at our arrival and departure times, what those processes look like, the traffic flows, everything related to the infrastructure of the building itself to the parking lot. So again, a very comprehensive review of the buildings themselves and the campuses. We've also launched some incident command training. So for the principals, and we now have these newly appointed teachers in charge who we wanted to bring into the fold, and they basically cover for the elementary principals when they're out of the building, but we felt it was important that they had the same training so that everybody again is aligned and that professional development is carrying all the way through. So the other piece of this is really to provide and support the building principals and the leaders in the building with continuous feedback, resources, and training throughout the year. So that's a major part of what I'm doing this year. Some of the next steps. So we're promoting safety awareness. We're going to do a bigger campaign with that for staff, students, and families. We sent home an emergency information guide in October during School Safety Week. It was sent home in both Spanish and English. And we will occasionally, or I will occasionally share and post some recommendations from safety advocates, one by the name of Be Smart, who advocate for gun owners to safely store their weapons at home and their ammunition. Again, just some common sense tips for people. We're also going to have a district safety website for posting a lot of this information. You can find that right on the main district website. Also looking to upgrade and improve safety infrastructure. We now have auto lockdown systems in all the buildings. We're looking to replace and refine some of the camera systems in the building, everything from the camera itself to the software we use, as well as looking back at finishing safety vestibules, which are at the final stages of approval at SED. So we'll have that working forward as well. Also looking to implement some of the changes as outlined in the safety audit from Alteris, and continue with tabletop drills with all building emergency response teams. So now taking this training at the principal level and bringing it down to the school level is the next step in this, and working with those teams, those teachers that are part of those teams in each building. Also looking at continued collaboration and learning from districts around us. So Putnam, Northern Westchester, BOCES has a consortium where district leaders meet throughout the region and basically compare notes, look for best practices, and learn from one another in terms of instances. So that's important. And again, we're meeting the next step with the safety experts from Alteris to discuss the topic of armed security, which I know came up at the end of last year, with the goal of making a recommendation to the Board of Education. Just to plug, this is a great resource for families, parents, teachers, administrators. The New York State Center for Safe Schools is a wonderful resource. There's an incredible amount of information on there for families to look at. And underscoring everything, whether it's your facility, your cameras, the drilling, is really getting back to the students and creating an environment, proactive, engaging with the students, protective factors, building those relationships, and creating a positive school environment. That is just as important as all the other pieces that we put into school safety, and certainly underscores the continued need for SCL support in all the buildings. So just want to leave that piece not unturned, but mentioned. So thank you. Those are my references. If you want to check them, do some reading later. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Breen. Are there any questions from the board? Any comments? No? All right, Mr. Breen, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I want to echo the gratitude in your first 4 months in this role. You've been keeping busy. Well done, and I know that there's a lot of additional work to do, but I feel very, very confident, and I know that we all do, in knowing that we're getting better and better at making sure our schools are as safe as they possibly can be. So I want to thank you for that. On a very happy note, I'd like to share with everyone here that they're members of the class of 1963, the Suffern High School class of 1963. And it's really interesting that we have the opportunity to hear from them this evening for a few minutes, because if you think back to 1963, what the district must have looked like back at the time, the district has gone through just a few changes in that period of time. So I want to just spend a moment during superintendent comments to give the representatives from the class of 1963 an opportunity to share some things with us. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I appreciate your time and your service to our community. My name is Dr. Nancy Grosselfinger. I'm a proud member of the class of 63. I started in 1950 in Suffern Elementary School and all the way through. You might recognize my family name because in the mid-'80s, my brother was the president of the Board of Education here, and other members of my family. My sister, also a Suffern High School graduate, went on to become a superintendent of curriculum in the Denver Public Schools, and by good fortune got to be the principal in an Obama turnaround school during that course of her career. So Suffern High School has produced some pretty interesting folks and people. Also with our delegation tonight is Tim Gulick, class of 62, our liaison to the Suffern High School Suffern Alumni Association, and who has been very helpful to us in planning our reunion and working with the Alumni Association. Along with us as well is John Wallach, also class of 63, who was the Alumnus of the Year 10 years ago for our 50th class reunion and was nominated based upon his many years of volunteer service, which he continues as a wrestling coach for the Suffern wrestling team. And so John is here with us. And this year's winner of the Alumnus of the Year, Dominic Ferreira, who you may know from Rocco Shoe Repair on Main Street in Suffern, the longest running business in Suffern today, who has become a beacon of focal point for those of us in the community. All Suffern returning stopped by, and he was particularly instrumental in helping our alums who were Vietnam veterans, as he himself is a veteran. So when we planned our reunion, it took us about a year to put together. There were 8 of us. We worked together by Zoom over the course of the time. We managed to have approximately 40 classmates and their spouses join us for a full day running around Suffern. We started at Java Love, walked down to the train museum, went over to Curly's Corner for lunch, back up to the elementary school, where Tom McTaggart of the Alumni Association presented Dominic his award with all of us sitting in, gave him a 5-minute standing ovation, which was lots of fun. And in the process of our getting together, one of our classmates took it upon herself to collect the bios of all of those we managed to find. We lost quite a few people, I'm afraid to tell you. But there were those of us who were around are still doing very busy things. And we're going to be able to provide you with the bios of about 40 some odd people that you hopefully can use as fodder to show what a Suffern High School alumnus can do in a lifetime. I think one of the things you'd be most impressed by is the enormous amount of community engagement and service. It is overwhelming in the course of a lifetime how many hours people have given in all kinds of ways from all of their different vantage points as their careers and their lives develop. It's extremely impressive to know that that value that was instilled in us here between our faculty, our fellow students, the administration, and of course, the Board of Education and the taxpayers who supported us. So today I'm going to just offer you this physical document to hand. We'll be giving over electronic version and hope that it will be of use to you as you think about where our current students may be encouraged and inspired to go. And we're at your disposal if we can continue to be of further help. Thank you very much.
Nancy, thank you so much. Nancy, thank you so much. And please correct me, because I could be mistaken, but when you graduated from Suffern High School wasn't where Suffern High School is right now. It's where the current middle school.
We graduated from the middle school, but we were in Cherry Lane, Airmont, Suffern, Sloatsburg, and Hilburn. Those were the schools that we drew from. in those
That's right.
days. Airmont, of course, is.
That's right. That's right. Airmont is no longer a school, and Hilburn, obviously. Tim, I think you went to school. You were telling me that my office right now is in the basement where the cafeteria used to be here in Hilburn, right? And you ate basically in my office in the cafeteria at the time. Amazing how this school building has transformed over the many decades and how the district has transformed. And John, I know that your involvement in town, not to mention the wrestling team, is really exceptional. I appreciate all the hours that you spend in the gym with our youngsters, not only young men, but now young women on the wrestling team. And you're seeing that has evolved greatly over the years. And certainly, Dom, everybody who's ever had a pair of shoes repaired or fixed in Suffern Central, myself included, thanks you not only for that. I didn't realize that it's the oldest existing store in Suffern. So thank you. And I know that you're also very heavily involved with the veterans as well, as I believe. So thank you very much for your service, not only to our country, but to the district as well. Thank you to the four of you for being here this evening. And thus concludes my superintendent comments.
All right, thank you. Yeah. 1.10, public participation. This is public participation on action items only. If there is any member of the public who wishes to speak on the action items tonight, please approach the podium. This will be a 30-minute period, 3 minutes per person. No?
Hello, I'm Jason Andern. I've got 2 children in elementary school and one on the way to the elementary school, and I'm just here to urge you for action item 2.13 to vote no in its current iteration. I know that it's been a rushed progress, and I'm sure there's a way that we can work together as a community to make sure that all the stakeholders feel heard and make sure that there's still trust between the board and the community and the district administration. I'd also request a roll call vote for that initiative, if that is possible, please, and that we work together as one Suffern to do what is best for students and vote no on that in its current iteration tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always that problem, being short. Good evening. I speak not only for myself, but for many concerned parents that are awaiting the outcome of the board's vote, which seemed from the start to be predetermined. I can only hope that I'm wrong, but hope is not a plan, so I am here to voice my concerns again one more time. I am flattered and blessed that so many of you have approached me at trunk or treats we attended at Montebello and Viola, walking around the community, or at our school events. I have met so many concerned new faces, from teachers afraid to speak out, and from families who either did speak or didn't know what to say. The message is similar. Many of us have felt powerless. We have cried, but our voices have fallen on deaf ears. While we challenge you to answer our questions, we painstakingly crafted. You respond with canned, prepared answers, often bringing up topics that are highly high-priority concerns, such as the cafeteria. It was upsetting how the deep questions many of us asked were marginalized, minimalized, and evaded, replaced by prepped questions and answers on lesser topics that the board asked the district publicly on October 24th. I can only hope those deeper, harder questions have been asked behind closed doors and you are all still considering your position on this matter. We have asked for data supporting this recommendation, insight to the board's educational and transportation plan, and some explanation of how the purported benefits will be in place for the upcoming school year. It is still unclear to us why this massive educational change is required. I hope that, as represented by your refreshed and renovated district office, our district is not in any financial peril. Without that, it baffles me why these changes must occur not only at all, but at the pace being suggested. Closing the school in the name of efficiency seems extremely short-sighted given the overcrowding currently occurring in East Ramapo. If I was in your shoes, I could not possibly have a clear conscience about shutting down my local community school, tearing apart siblings and friends, all for a handful of extra staff members who are a luxury, not a necessity. Our school is our children's home. That is a necessity. No matter the outcome, you will continue to drive comfortably to work to see your colleagues regularly in small groups. Our children will spend 30+ minutes being dragged across the county using a transportation system already broken, subjected to larger class sizes, and they will do this without many of their friends or siblings by their side. As a parent who watches the relationships that have been built, it breaks my heart. Even if the vote does not pass, I hope this highlights the very difficult busing issues that will still remain and that which we as parents deal with daily. To my fellow parents who feel as we do, we will continue to ask for questions, demanding a solid and well thought out plan for the sake of our children and our community. We will continue to challenge and oppose any broad sweeping changes to our children's education that are pushed through without our input or right to vote. We have been allowed to speak, but we have not been listened to, and will continue to fight to make sure our voice is heard. If you would like to be kept aware, please contact me through social media or a new email address that we set up for this purpose, suffernpar@gmail.com, which stands for Suffern Parents Against Restructuring. Thank you for your time, attention, and continued support.
Thank you.
I'm also short, not quite as short though. Obviously, we're extremely concerned about the potential outcome that awaits us. That is something you see externally from my wife and I and my son spoke last time, but we're just as equally upset inwardly. Something we took for granted, something that we collectively came together for as a community to keep our school board in the right hands with the right people, that has seemingly only hastened to turning into something we have come to abhor. We, or I will even say, took for granted the power that this board has and underestimated it as we voted on your positions. I guarantee we're going to be paying much more attention to not just this vote, but all votes and the platforms that come before us as we think about the path forward for this community. I worry that the only method this community has left to voice its approval or disapproval is via the budget. As you're likely aware, the community we are so scared to turn into hasn't passed the last 7 or so and has only accelerated its demise. That is the fate we may be sitting into motion tonight, not acting to avoid it. I worry that the trust between the community and the Board of Education and the district is irreparably broken. I mean, you offered us free meals for our students in the last week or two. Most people I spoke to, and even when I first read it, it seemed like a consolation prize. It seems like we can't even accept free things without thinking there's some sort of an angle. To parents out there who have told us they're so sure this is the right move and that they would speak up if the district couldn't fix the busing, that of course it must be fixed. This plan, how could this plan succeed without it? On social media, you asked for our patience. You said, just wait and see, something will come. Well, the vote is today. It is now. We don't see a plan. We don't see any fixes. My kids came on the school bus 30 minutes late every day the last week. They lost a kid, had to figure out where he was, and there was a fight. And this is with a 10-minute normally bus ride. This will be 30 or more going forward. Trust in the district is not a plan. Hopes and dreams are not a plan. A plan is a plan. And the fact that we have to tolerate this without one is frankly insulting and mind-boggling. I do hold out a shred of hope that some of you have in fact listened to something we've said and will vote against the grain tonight and have been asking the tough questions behind closed doors that you don't ask publicly. I do not look forward to the seemingly hopeless and impossible task of finding trust in a community lacking it, building up this model I don't believe in, and finding new ways to hold each of you accountable for its execution. Not to mention finding new ways to continue to fight its implementation with other parents who feel the same way. We've outlined numerous ways this recommendation will not work, from the separation of families, poor academic results, to how disproportionately impactful it will be on our current students, as well as the over-aggressive timeline. But that shred of hope is not a plan. So we are prepared to continue on should we not get the result we like, but we still hope and implore you to vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I just want to let you know that I went to the regent for the Board of Education for this area was over in East Ramapo, holding a listening session. And I went there, and everyone I spoke to about this issue immediately said, "Oh my God, we want to rent the Viola school if it's closed." I mean, it's a huge thing over there. All want to rent the school. So what I'm saying is, why don't we, if you close the school and rent it to BOCES, then you're going to take all the kids that live in that area and bus them out of the area. All these kids that live around Viola are going to be bussed out, and you're going to be busing BOCES in. Whereas I think when they were very receptive to this too is the idea that why not, if you have excess space in Cherry Lane, which I think you do, and in Viola, then rent that to East Ramapo. And this way, the children that live right around Viola can still go to school there. And then these people in East Ramapo who need space, whatever East Ramapo students are nearest to those schools can be bussed in. And you can work out some kind of a, I don't know the legality of it, but they seem to think you could work out some kind of a resource sharing agreement where you're teaching some sections of East Ramapo with sections of Suffern Central in those schools. Because if you say, well, we can always retransition, if we have an increase in enrollment, which I think you will have, we can always transition back into Viola School. But the problem is that's complicated. You're going to transition to BOCES, transition everybody out, then transition them back. Whereas in this case, it'd be a much easier transition one way or the other. So I really think you should strongly consider that. I know the board has got some tough decisions to make, but I think let's come up with the smartest solution. Because what I fear, if you close Viola, you're going to have a problem up in that area where people don't want to move in, people move out, and that's just going to shrink the whole school district and weaken it, I think, for the long term. So I really think, look, BOCES has the entire county to rent from. Whereas East Ramapo and Suffern Central are right next to each other. These schools are on that borderline. It makes perfect sense to work out some kind of an agreement with East Ramapo rather than BOCES. That's what I think. And I think, I just think the getting everybody out of the school and bring BOCES in, it makes it very hard to ever transition back. So I hope you'll consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Could you just state your name for the record?
Yeah, Mike Parietti.
Thank you.
6 Book Rock Road.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? No. All right. Then at this time, we will close this portion of the meeting. Move to our action items. So we have action items 2.01 through 2.13. I will pull action item 2.13 from the consent agenda. So we will call for a consent agenda for action items 2.01 through 2.12. Does anyone have any other items they wish to pull from the consent agenda? Okay. $2.10. Okay. So I'll call for a consent agenda for action items 2.01 through 2.09, 2.11, and 2.12. Do I have a motion? Mr. Frazier. Second? Second. Mr. Donnelly. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 All those against? Any abstentions? 2.10, this is the settlement agreement for student 110722023. Do I have a motion? Ms. Dickman, second. Mrs. Hodge. Discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Mrs. Hodge abstains. 2.13, the resolution for the restructuring of the elementary schools for the 2023-2024 school year. Do I have a motion? Apologies. 2.13, the resolution, the restructuring of the elementary schools for the 2024-2025 school year. Do I have a motion? Mr. Shapiro? Second? Ms. Dickman? Discussion. Any comments? Mr. Donnelly?
I have comments, yes, I do. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Gunderson for the time, his team for the time, and the effort that they put into this is mind-boggling. So I thank you all for this. And I recognize we have to do something. But as I look at it, I still have issues with the pairing of the schools, the pace that we're moving in. I think it is fast. So I think we're in the right direction. I really do. But I think we're just going a little too fast. So I'm going to vote no on this topic right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Anybody?
Yes, sorry. I prepared something, even though someone very close to me said less is more. At least I think that's what she said, but I'm going to read it anyway. I read every email that has been sent to the board, those that were against the restructuring plan and those that supported it. I want everyone to know that all of your voices have been heard and have been listened to. Change in our lives is inevitable. No matter our age, our profession, our economic status, our position, or social status, change is going to take place. I'm sure that all of us here have experienced a change in our life that at first was unsettling, annoying, upsetting, and then realized that change takes place. And here we are today, having lived through a particular change, and some of us have had many changes, and yet we are okay. This proposed restructuring of our elementary schools was not done on a whim. The DM consulting team was involved in our district before Dr. Gunderson even came to our district. The idea to restructure was researched, discussed, revised, discussed further, looked at from a different angle, reworked, continuously discussed, and then presented. What our central district administrators and building principals have developed is focused upon the best educational opportunities. And let me repeat that, the best educational opportunities for our elementary students going forward. I've been involved in education at the elementary level and the secondary level since 1970, both as a teacher and as a building administrator. If I believed that this was a mistake, I would make my voice heard. I support the proposed restructuring change to our elementary schools. In addition, I support the plan to repurpose Viola Elementary School. I vote in support of this restructuring plan.
Thank you. Comments? Comments? Okay. I have a comment that I'd like to make. So I don't typically prepare statements in advance of board meetings. Since we're voting on one of the biggest changes that I've personally been a part of in my 8 years on the board, I felt that it was appropriate. And I'd first like to thank everyone who reached out to the Board of Education, both in support of and in opposition to the proposed restructuring of our elementary schools. And I realize there is a lot of anxiety in parts of our community about this change. And I know that regardless of the answers administration provides, everybody's mind will not be changed. However, I have great confidence that this restructuring model is what is best for the collective student body of our elementary students. Since the end of the 2022-23 school year, Dr. Gunderson and Suffern administration have spent countless hours fine-tuning this proposal in a way that will allow all of Suffern's elementary students to have equal access to the same programs, extracurricular activities, and healthier grade sizes, while also creating a model where every building has adequate full-time representation of staff, such as school psychologists, guidance counselors, special education teachers, and E&L specialists. Simply put, shifting from 5 buildings to 4 and implementing a modified Princeton plan will provide equity among our youngest students, which quite frankly is not being seen today. We've all seen the numbers. K-5 enrollment has decreased from 1,924 students in the 2013-2014 school year to 1,525 students for the current school year, just shy of 400 total students. Now, for perspective, the total number of K-5 students lost over the past 10 years is greater than the current enrollment of all 5 elementary schools. Making this change now while our district is in strong financial shape affords us the opportunity to provide the best possible educational experience to all our students. Keeping things status quo would only delay closing a building and would eventually force us to make reactionary decisions instead of proactive ones. Dr. Gunderson and the Suffern Central School District have my complete support for this proposal. I'm proud to vote yes on the elementary restructuring plan and provide an enhanced, equitable educational environment that all of our youngest Mounties deserve. Are there any other comments? Action item 2.13. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Mr. Donnelly? Any abstentions? Thank you all very much for your time. 6.01 board member comments. Are there any board member comments at this time?
I'll make a quick comment. I too want to thank the administration, Dr. Gunderson and your team for the time, effort, research, solicitation of community engagement, transparency, presentations, provision of thorough data, and consistent explanation and details of the proposed plan, suggested plan. And like Mr. Kern, I'm super proud to have voted for this tonight, and I'm very excited to see how it works for our students, because every student in this district deserves a rich, socially charged, equitable elementary experience. And I think this is the best way to do that right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just have something I'd like to add. Talking about elementary schools, recently we had the cross-country races, the elementary cross-country races to the 5 schools. And unfortunately, Sloatsburg's coach wasn't available to bring the kids around and coach them for the week or two prior to the race. And 2 coaches got wind of it. Coach Wojciechowski, Ken Wojciechowski, and Joe Lofberg heard, and they immediately just stood up and went up there and got the kids up and ready to go, just to show you what kind of district this is and the compassion that these guys have. And as soon as they heard what Sloatsburg didn't have anybody, they were up there to do it. And it just speaks to what we have here in Suffern Central. But I really want to thank those guys for the time. They could have been home doing whatever, but it meant a lot. And fortunately, Sloatsburg, I think it's 18 out of 19 years have won the title. So I'm very happy for that. But I just wanted to mention that, we have fantastic staff here. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank the members of the class of 1963 for being here. And thank you for submitting these bios. I'm really looking forward to reading them. If anyone has the long view of education, it would be the members of that class who have seen the district through many years and the ups and downs. Thank you so much for coming back and talking again about the value of public education, and in particular, the value of this district and how it produces so many good people who stay engaged with their community and are doing public service out in the world.
Thank you. Any other comments? No? All right. All right, moving on. 7.01, public participation. This is public participation for any district-related matters. If there's anything district-related that anyone would like to speak to, you can approach the podium. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. Please, no mentioning of district faculty or students. Thank you.
Dear Dr. Gunderson and the board, I'm Rose Schmidt. Dear Dr. Gunderson, the Board of Education, and the Suffern Central community. Thank you so much for again allowing us to speak this evening. I know the decision was not an easy one for anyone to make, but one that was made out of necessity to the healthy survival of our district. I want to thank you for considering all students when making this decision, one that will ensure equity and diversity to all students, no matter their academic, economic, or social abilities within the Suffern Central School District. Now that the decision has been made, I want to implore the board and those in the community to work together to make this transition the best it can be for all students, teachers, and staff within the district. We all know that transition is not easy, but putting a plan in place to help it go smoother is much needed. I am confident that the schools, the district, the PTAs, and the communities will help with this transition in planning group activities, visits, playdates, so all children are familiar with where they're going to be next year, who they're going to be with, and how this will affect them. I hope that my PTA will get together and plan things with and for those kids who will be moving on to a new school, as well as welcoming in those new students who will get to experience our wonderful school for the first time. I hope that the district will talk to the students and teachers and ask what they need to make this transition possible. We have a wonderful leader of our social emotional wellness who I'm sure can work with all students to help them and the staff with this process. I ask that our community leaders step up and get involved in helping this process as well. So much of what I've experienced throughout the district as a student, a parent, and a coach has been through community activities in the various villages and town events. This is when we can step up as communities and showcase and invite everyone to share what makes our communities who they are. To all the parents who are anxious, upset, and angry, I understand. I was not thrilled in the beginning that my children will not be graduating from the elementary school that I did, one that is right next to my house. Go home, yell, scream, be upset and angry, and once we get that out of our system, we need to compose ourselves and make this the best transition we can for our children. We need to come together as a district, and more importantly, as communities, they're going to be together and make this transition work. Our children feel our stress and anxiety, and they feed off that. If we as parents help them to feel safe and secure the rest of this year and prepare them for whatever school they will be going to next year, it will help lessen their own anxiety and uncertainty. As a parent, I invite those who will be in Sloatsburg to come and visit our village, take part in our activities, and see what a great community you'll be gaining with yours next year, and hope all the other communities would do the same. I invite anyone who would like to meet up at the park with the kids, let them know each other, and learn throughout this scary time, uncertain transition, and uncomfortable move that there are others going through the same thing and ready and willing to support you. Again, I want to thank Dr. Gunderson and the board for making a hard decision to help advance our district. I'm confident this decision will only strengthen our district in the future.
Thank you. Can you
speak again? I just wanted to add a couple more things. Obviously disappointed.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. Can you state your name, please? I don't think you got it.
Sorry,
Not the first time around.
I feel like I sort of was grandfathered into.
Nah, just for the record.
For the record, Oren Baruch.
Thank you.
I have 3 children in Viola. I just want to address one of the comments from Mr. Shapiro that change doesn't just happen. We have to accept it for sure, but we pushed through change tonight. I don't support a preordained future. I don't think you should either. Some things, yes, we have to accept, but life doesn't just happen to you. You have control over it, just as you did tonight. I don't think that releases any of us from making sure that whatever we agreed on and voted on tonight happens to the greatest success of all the students here. And as you can imagine, this is going to take an extremely hard amount of work from everyone to make sure that the best comes out for all of our children. The clock starts ticking tonight. We have a very short amount of time to do it. And I really hope that all our students that are losing their friends over the next 8 months appreciate all the benefits that you claim are coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Sorry, I missed some of what my husband said because I was speaking to News 12 outside. So I hope I don't repeat too much. But if I don't, I just wanted to comment. I heard him talking about change. So I'll move on to transparency. You guys said that this was very transparent and that it was in the works long before Dr. Gunderson got here. Again, none of you ran on this platform. There have been school board elections since then. How could you be going through such changes such as this? Maybe it was transparent to you, but it wasn't made transparent to anybody in this room. So we've been asking for plans. We've been asking for paperwork. We've put in foils. We've gotten information back that there are no documents from the DM group. So to me, this is a complete lack of transparency. So I want to make it transparent that the transparency has not been here. And we're happy to see these. So please prove us wrong. Show us the documents. We've been asking and begging to see them. We would be more than happy to hear and agree with you that this plan is what's in the best interest for our children. We really, really would love that. Nothing more to do that, but we're not seeing it. So please show us, be transparent. That's all we're asking.
Thank you. Any other speakers? No? Okay. I'm going to close this portion of the meeting. 8.01, Superintendent closing comments.
Thank you very much. Ms. Schmidt, I think both of you said quite eloquently this evening that now is the time to look to the future. Now is the time to focus on paying very close attention to the details that we develop together with parents, students, teachers, staff members, administrators to make sure that the transition that is coming is as smooth as possible for our students and that we prepare them mentally for all the changes that are going to be coming. And I know for the folks that have tight connections to Viola, I recognize and very much value the pain that you may be experiencing. Closing or repurposing Viola, if it didn't sting, there'd be something wrong. And I feel for you, and I feel for the teachers who I met with today who have spent upwards of, over 2 decades for some of them at Viola. And it's a big part of who they are. But those same folks have shared with me that they are optimistic for the future. And as we heard from the class of 1963, which by the way was a surprise this evening, I didn't know they were coming. I thought that was a really nice contribution that they had this evening. But this district has been through all sorts of changes and growth and modifications over the many, many decades that it's been in existence. And it is a wonderful school district. And I believe, in large part, due to the sharing of thoughts and concerns by parents, some students, teachers, staff members, administrators, community members, whether it was on Mountie Minds, community forums, surveys, thought exchanges, emails, phone calls, you name it. Collectively, we are going to be better as a result of this restructuring of our elementary schools. But to the point of Ms. Schmidt and Mr. Baruch, now is the time to start working on that in earnest. We've been developing plans, we have concepts, but thank you to the Board of Education for endorsing this plan, because now we can say with full confidence that we can move forward with working on the details. And Mr. Donnelly, you mentioned the infamous cross-country race, right? With the 5 elementary schools. So that's not the end. Next year's not the end of that cross-country race. And it's not the end of countless other traditions, ceremonies, scholarships, and things that are important to us in each of the 5 elementary schools. But now's an opportunity for us to modify while we also continue to honor those traditions. And I know that together as one Suffern, we will come together to do just that. And we will see at this time next year, sure, there'll be some bumps in the road and kinks that we need to work out. But at this time next year, we're going to be excited about the new things that our students are experiencing. And I'm very proud of this district. I'm very proud and thankful for my team, whether they're at the table here or on the executive team, our principals, assistant principals, teachers, staff members, custodians, everybody that has played a part. I want to thank you for making this a reality. And now we continue on with this work to continue the great district that we are. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. At this time, we're going to make a motion to adjourn. Before we do, I would like to say thank you to everybody who has attended these meetings over the last few months. Thank you to everybody who has spoken at these meetings, whether you spoke in support or opposition. I do hope that we provide the opportunity for everybody to come and speak about how they feel. Our next meeting will be in 2 weeks. It'll be Tuesday, November 21st. At this time, do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Shapiro? Second? Ms. Dickman? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned. We will see you in 2 weeks.